It all started on a seemingly ordinary day. I was on my way home from work when suddenly two men grabbed me from behind. Panic set in as they forced me into a car, my mind racing with a mix of fear and confusion. The car ride was silent, save for my labored breathing and the sound of the engine. As we pulled up to my house, my heart sank. There she was, my wife, standing on the front porch with a smug look on her face. She had changed. Gone was the loving woman I married. In her place stood someone I barely recognized. The men dragged me out of the car and shoved me towards her. "We are not getting divorced," she declared, holding up a document. "I've drawn up a prenup that allows me to have as many lovers as I want. If you don't agree, I will take everything from you." I stared at her, disbelief clouding my thoughts. "Of course, darling," I replied, my voice eerily calm. "But first, we'll make some changes." Her eyes narrowed, but she nodded. "Fine, but don't think you can trick me. I have everything planned out." That night I lay in bed, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Betrayal, anger, and a burning desire for revenge consumed me. I knew I couldn't let her get away with this. She had shattered our marriage, but I would make sure she paid for it. Over the next few days, I meticulously crafted my plan. It was time for my crushing revenge to begin. I started by gathering evidence of her infidelity, text messages, photos, and even video footage of her with her lovers. Each piece of evidence was a dagger to my heart, but it fueled my resolve. Then, I delved into her financial records. It turned out she had been siphoning money from our joint accounts to fund her escapades. Armed with this information, I consulted a lawyer who assured me we had a strong case. With everything in place, I confronted her. "I have proof of your infidelity and financial misconduct," I said, holding up the evidence. "If you don't agree to my terms, I will expose everything." Her face paled, but she tried to maintain her composure. "What do you want?" "Everything," I replied coldly. "The house, the cars, and a significant portion of our savings. You will walk away with nothing." She stared at me, realization dawning in her eyes. "Fine," she spat. "But this isn't tea over." I watched as she packed her things and left, her threats echoing in my mind. Little did she know this was just the beginning of my plan. The legal battles were long and arduous, but in the end, I emerged victorious. She lost everything, just as I had promised. Now, as I sit in our empty house, I feel a sense of satisfaction. My wife had underestimated me, and she paid the price. The journey was painful, but it was worth it. I had taken control of my life again, and no one would ever betray me like that again. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: I will never forget the lessons learned from this ordeal. And as for my ex-wife, she will always remember the man who outsmarted her at her own game. The days following her departure were filled with a strange sense of emptiness and relief. I had taken the first steps in reclaiming my life, but the real work was just beginning. With the evidence I had gathered, I set in motion a plan that would not only protect my assets, but also ensure that my ex-wife's reputation would never recover. I started by contacting key people in our social circle, people who had always admired our perfect marriage. With carefully crafted messages, I hinted at the truth without revealing too much, planting seeds of doubt about her character. My lawyer also helped leak the financial records to select individuals, ensuring that the story of her betrayal and financial misdeeds would spread quietly but effectively. Next, I turned my attention to the house. I wanted to rid it of any trace of her. I hired a team to redecorate and renovate, transforming our once shared space into a sanctuary for myself. Every room was purged of her presence, replaced with my own touches. It was therapeutic, a way to reclaim my territory and identity. Amidst the renovations, I received a surprising visit. One of her former lovers, a man named Jack, showed up on my doorstep. He looked as though he hadn't slept in days. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice shaky. I hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, come in." We sat in the living room, and he wasted no time getting to the point. I didn't know she was married. She lied to all of us. His confession was almost laughable. What did you expect from a woman who has a prenup allowing multiple lovers? Jack ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. Look, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. If I had known, I would never have gotten involved. I nodded, accepting his apology. It's done now. Just stay away from her. After Jack left, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. Even her lovers were starting to abandon her. It was exactly what I had hoped for. As the legal battles continued, my lawyer and I devised a strategy to ensure my victory. We aimed to exploit every loophole in the prenup, challenging its validity and demonstrating her moral and financial misconduct. The court proceedings were intense, but my lawyer was relentless, dismantling her defense piece by piece. In the meantime, I began to rebuild my social life. I joined new clubs, attended events, and reconnected with old friends. I made sure to present myself as the wronged but resilient husband, a man who had been betrayed but had emerged stronger. It wasn't long before word spread, and sympathy began to shift in my favor. One evening, while attending a charity gala, I encountered an old acquaintance, Elizabeth. We hadn't seen each other in years, but the connection was immediate. She had always been intelligent and compassionate, qualities I had always admired. "I heard about what happened," she said softly. "I'm so sorry." "Thank you, Elizabeth," I replied. "It's been a tough journey, but I'm getting through it." We spent the evening talking, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a genuine sense of hope. Elizabeth and I started seeing each other regularly, and our bond grew stronger with each meeting. She was a stark contrast to my ex-wife, honest, supportive, and caring. As the court case drew to a close, the judge ruled in my favor. My ex-wife was left with nothing, just as I had demanded. The victory was bittersweet, but it was a necessary step in my path to recovery. With the legal battles behind me and a new relationship blossoming, I finally felt a sense of peace. The future looked promising, and I was ready to embrace it. With the court case settled and my ex-wife stripped of everything, I knew the final stage of my plan was near. I wanted to ensure that she would never be able to rebuild her life as easily as she had shattered mine. It was time for the final blow, a move that would cement her downfall and my victory. I began by reaching out to the media. I had kept all the juicy details of the case out of the public eye, but now it was time to use that information to my advantage. I contacted a trusted journalist friend, providing them with all the evidence of her infidelity, financial misconduct, and the outrageous prenup. The story was too scandalous to resist, and soon it was all over the news. Headlines screamed about the cheating wife who tried to destroy her husband. Her name became synonymous with betrayal and deceit. The court of public opinion turned against her swiftly and mercilessly. Social media was ablaze with discussions, most condemning her actions and expressing support for me. Elizabeth stood by my side throughout this entire ordeal. She was my rock, offering unwavering support and understanding. We grew closer, our relationship blossoming into something beautiful amidst the chaos. She helped me see that there was a life beyond revenge, a future filled with possibilities and happiness. One day, as we were having dinner, Elizabeth looked at me thoughtfully. "You've won, you know. She's lost everything. Isn't it time to let go and move on?" Her words struck a chord. I had been so consumed with my revenge that I hadn't thought about what came next. But she was right. It was time to let go of the past and embrace the future. The next morning, I decided to take one last step to close this chapter of my life. I reached out to my ex-wife, asking her to meet me at a neutral location. Surprisingly, she agreed. We met at a quiet cafe. She looked worn and defeated, a shadow of the woman she once was. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice devoid of the confidence it once held. "I wanted to see you one last time," I said calmly, "to tell you that it's over. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." She stared at me, a mixture of relief and disbelief in her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "There's nothing left to say," I replied. "Just know that you've lost everything because of your own choices. Goodbye." As I walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in a long while, I felt free. I had taken my revenge, and now it was time to rebuild my life. Back home, Elizabeth was waiting for me. I told her about the meeting, and she smiled. "I'm proud of you. You're finally free." "Yes," I said, pulling her into a hug. "I am. With my ex-wife's reputation in ruins and my own life on the mend, I looked forward to the future with Elizabeth. Together, we started making plans, traveling, exploring new hobbies, and building a life filled with love and trust. Months passed, and the memory of my ex-wife faded into the background. Elizabeth and I got engaged, and our wedding was a celebration of new beginnings. Surrounded by friends and family, I felt a sense of joy and fulfillment I had never thought possible. As we exchanged vows, I realized that my journey of revenge had led me to something far more valuable, a second chance at happiness. Elizabeth was my new beginning, and with her by my side, I knew I could face anything. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. I had taken control of my life again, and nothing would ever make me feel powerless or betrayed. The final blow to my ex-wife had been delivered, but more importantly, I had found peace and love. After the wedding, Elizabeth and I settled into our new life together. We moved into a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, a fresh start away from the memories of the past. It was a time of healing and rebuilding, both emotionally and physically. We took on various projects together, turning our new house into a home. Elizabeth loved gardening, and she transformed the backyard into a lush green sanctuary. I found solace in woodworking, creating custom furniture that added a personal touch to every room. These activities were therapeutic, a way to channel our energy into something positive. Our weekends were filled with laughter and love. We explored the local parks, tried out new restaurants, and even started taking dance classes. Elizabeth's joy was infectious, and I found myself smiling more than I had in years. The dark cloud of my past was slowly but surely lifting, replaced by the bright light of our future. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sunset, Elizabeth turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Have you thought about what you'd like to do next?" I glanced at her, a smile tugging at my lips. "What do you mean?" "Well, we've been focusing on settling in and rebuilding, but what about your career? Your dreams? What do you want to achieve now?" Her question made me pause. For so long, my focus had been on surviving the storm of my divorce and exacting my revenge. But now that the dust had settled, it was time to think about the future. "I've been thinking about starting my own business," I admitted. "Something related to woodworking and furniture design. It's always been a passion of mine, and I think it's time to turn that passion into a reality." Elizabeth's eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing. I know you will do great, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." With Elizabeth's encouragement, I took the leap. I started small, setting up a workshop in our garage and taking on custom projects for friends and neighbors. Word spread quickly, and soon I had a steady stream of clients. My business grew, and with it, my confidence. Elizabeth and I celebrated each milestone together. She was my biggest cheerleader, always pushing me to aim higher and dream bigger. Her unwavering support was the foundation upon which I built my new life, but it wasn't just my career that flourished. Our relationship grew stronger with each passing day. We were partners in every sense of the word, facing challenges together and celebrating victories side by side. I had found in Elizabeth a love that was pure and true, a stark contrast to the betrayal I had experienced before. One day, as we were enjoying a quiet afternoon in our garden, Elizabeth turned to me with a mischievous smile. "I've been thinking about something." "Oh, what's that?" I asked, curious. "How do you feel about starting a family?" The question took me by surprise, but as I looked into her eyes, I knew my answer. I'd love that, more than anything. A few months later, we found out we were expecting. The news filled our home with joy and excitement. We spent hours preparing for the arrival of our baby, turning one of the bedrooms into a cozy nursery. Elizabeth's belly grew, and with it, our anticipation and love. The day our daughter, Lily, was born was the happiest day of my life. Holding her in my arms, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. I had been through hell and back, but it had all led me to this moment. As I looked at Elizabeth and Lily, I knew that my past no longer held any power over me. I had built a new life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities. The pain and betrayal were distant memories, overshadowed by the happiness of the present and the promise of the future. We continued to build our life together, creating memories and traditions that would last a lifetime. Elizabeth and I often talked about the journey that brought us here, grateful for the lessons learned and the strength we found in each other. With my business thriving and our family growing, I felt a sense of fulfillment I had never known before. The dark chapter of my past had closed, and a new, brighter one had begun. Elizabeth, Lily, and I faced the world with hope and determination, ready for whatever lay ahead. Life was good. My woodworking business was thriving, Elizabeth was flourishing in her career as a landscape architect, and our daughter Lily was the joy of our lives. We had found our rhythm as a family, balancing work and play, love and responsibility. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when the first hint of trouble appeared. Elizabeth and I were in the garden, watching Lily play with her new puppy, a lively golden retriever named Max. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out to see an unknown number. Normally I would ignore it, but something compelled me to answer. "Hello?" I said, stepping away from the laughter of my family. "Is this Patrick Reynolds?" a stern voice asked. "Yes, it is. Who's calling?" "This is Detective Laura Anderson with the local police department. We need to speak with you regarding an ongoing investigation." My heart skipped a beat. "An investigation? What is this about? It is best if we discuss this in person. Can you come down to the station?" Yes, of course," I stammered. "I'll be there shortly." I ended the call and turned back to Elizabeth, who was now looking at me with concern. "What's wrong, Patrick?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "The police want to speak with me about an investigation. They didn't say what it was about." Elizabeth's brow furrowed. "Do you need me to come with you?" "No, it's okay. Stay here with Lily. I'll call you as soon as I know what is going on." I kissed her and Lily goodbye, trying to keep my anxiety at bay as I drove to the police station. When I arrived, Detective Anderson was waiting for me. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and an air of authority. "Thank you for coming in, Mr. Reynolds," she said, leading me to a small interrogation room. "Please, have a seat." I sat down, my mind racing with possibilities. "Detective, can you please tell me what this is about?" She nodded, taking a seat across from me. "We are investigating a series of thefts and financial crimes. Your name came up in connection with some suspicious activities linked to your ex-wife, Marlene." I felt a chill run down my spine at the mention of Marlene's name. What does Marlene have to do with this? We believe she has been involved in a network of financial fraud. We have reason to believe that she may have used your business as a cover for some of these activities. Shock and anger surged through me. "What? No, that can't be. I haven't had any contact with her since the divorce, and my business is legitimate." "We understand that, Mr. Reynolds," Detective Anderson said calmly. "But we need to look into all possible connections. We have a search warrant for your business records and financial transactions. If you have nothing to hide, this should be a straightforward process." I felt a mix of indignation and fear. "Of course I'll cooperate, but I assure you I have nothing to do with any of this." The detective nodded, standing up. "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. We'll need you to provide access to your records. We'll be in touch." I left the station in a daze, my mind reeling. When I got home, Elizabeth was waiting anxiously. I explained everything to her, and she listened with a supportive but worried expression. "We'll get through this," she said, squeezing my hand. "You have nothing to hide, and the truth will come out." Her words were comforting, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings with detectives, handing over records, and trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy at home. Elizabeth and Lily were my anchors, keeping me grounded through the storm. One evening, just as I was starting to believe that this nightmare would soon be over, I received another call from Detective Anderson. This time, her tone was different, more urgent. "Mr. Reynolds, we need you to come to the station immediately. We have new information that requires your attention." I drove to the station, my heart pounding. When I arrived, Detective Anderson looked grim. "We've uncovered more evidence," she said, leading me back to the interrogation room. "It is worse than we thought." She placed a stack of documents in front of me. As I skimmed through them, my blood ran cold. They detailed a complex web of transactions and shell companies, all linked back to Marlene, but my name was all over them as well. "This is impossible," I whispered. I've never seen any of this before. We believe Marlene has been forging your signature and using your business as a front without your knowledge, Detective Anderson explained. But proving that will be difficult. The weight of her words sank in. My life, my business, everything I had rebuilt was in jeopardy, and the person responsible was the one who had already caused me so much pain. What is going to happen now? I asked, my voice barely steady. We'll continue our investigation and work to clear your name, she said, but you need to prepare for a long battle ahead. As I left the station, the full gravity of the situation hit me. Marlene was back in my life, not in person, but through the shadow of her actions. It was an unexpected twist I hadn't seen coming, and it threatened to unravel everything I had worked so hard to rebuild. Back at home, Elizabeth held me tight as I told her the latest developments. "We'll fight this together," she said fiercely, "no matter what." Looking into her eyes, I knew she meant it. With her by my side, I had the strength to face whatever lay ahead, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my past was haunting me, and this new battle was just beginning. The following weeks were a whirlwind of legal battles and emotional turmoil. Detective Anderson and her team worked tirelessly to uncover the full extent of Marlene S. deceit, while my lawyer, Michael, and I prepared to defend my name and my business. It was an uphill battle, but I refused to let Marlene S. actions destroy the life I had rebuilt. The first court hearing was set for a brisk morning in early autumn. Elizabeth accompanied me, her presence a constant source of strength. As we walked into the courthouse, I felt a mixture of dread and determination. The room was filled with people, including Marlene, who sat with her own legal team, looking defiant and unrepentant. The judge called the court to order, and the proceedings began. Michael presented our case, laying out the evidence that Marlene had forged my signature and used my business as a cover for her fraudulent activities. He detailed the timeline of events, demonstrating how I had been completely unaware of her schemes. Marlene S. lawyer countered, trying to cast doubt on my integrity and suggesting that I had been complicit in her actions. The accusations stung, but I kept my composure, knowing that the truth was on my side. The highlight of the hearing was when Detective Anderson took the stand. She presented the findings of her investigation, which corroborated our claims. She explained how Marlene had manipulated financial records and created false identities to facilitate her crimes. Her testimony was compelling and left little room for doubt. Throughout the hearing, I could see the jury members' expressions shift from skepticism to understanding. It was clear that they were beginning to see the truth. But the fight was far from over. During a recess, Elizabeth and I sat in a quiet corner of the courthouse, trying to gather our thoughts. "You're doing great," she said, holding my hand. "Just keep telling the truth. We'll get through this." I nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. "I just can't believe how far Marlene went to ruin me. It feels like a nightmare." "We'll wake up from it soon," Elizabeth assured me. "And when we do, we'll be stronger than ever." The hearing resumed, and it was time for me to take the stand. I recounted everything I knew, explaining how I had discovered Marlene S. betrayal and how I had moved on with my life. I emphasized my complete lack of involvement in her fraudulent activities and my commitment to running an honest business. As I spoke, I could feel the jury's eyes on me, and I sensed their empathy. They saw a man who had been wronged and was fighting to reclaim his life. When I finished, I glanced at Elizabeth, who gave me a reassuring smile. The cross-examination was intense, with Marlene S. lawyer attempting to trip me up and cast doubt on my testimony. But I remained calm and consistent, knowing that the truth was my strongest weapon. Finally, the hearing drew to a close. The judge announced that a decision would be made in a few days, and we were free to leave. As we exited the courthouse, I felt a mixture of exhaustion and relief. "How do you think it went?" I asked Michael as we stood outside. "You did great, Patrick," he said. "The jury seemed to respond well to your testimony. I am optimistic." Elizabeth and I went home, trying to resume some semblance of normalcy while we awaited the verdict. It was a tense time, but we leaned on each other for support. Our love and determination to get through this together kept us going. A few days later, the call came. Michael informed us that the judge had ruled in our favor. The court recognized my innocence and found Marlene guilty of fraud and forgery. It was a victory, but it felt bittersweet. The relief of clearing my name was tempered by the lingering pain of Marlene's betrayal. As we celebrated the verdict, Elizabeth hugged me tightly. "We did it, Patrick. We fought and won." "Yes, we did," I agreed, holding her close. "But now it's time to move forward and put all this behind us." We decided to take a much-needed vacation to celebrate the end of the legal battle and to reconnect as a family. We chose a cozy cabin in the mountains, far away from the chaos and stress of recent months. It was a chance to relax, recharge, and focus on what truly mattered. The mountain air was crisp and invigorating. We spent our days hiking, exploring, and simply enjoying each other's company. Lily was delighted with the adventure, and her laughter echoed through the forest. It was a healing experience, reminding us of the beauty and joy in life. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Elizabeth turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "We've been through so much, Patrick, but I believe it's just made us stronger. I want us to always remember how far we've come and how much we mean to each other." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Elizabeth. You are my rock, and I love you more than words can say." Tears glistened in her eyes as she smiled. "I love you too, Patrick. Let's make a promise to cherish every moment and never take our happiness for granted." We sealed our promise with a kiss, the warmth of the fire enveloping us. In that moment, I realized that despite the hardships, we had emerged stronger and more united. The battle had tested us, but it had also revealed the depth of our love and resilience. As we returned home from our vacation, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The past was finally behind us, and the future was bright. Elizabeth and I continued to build our life together, creating new memories and embracing every opportunity. Returning from our mountain retreat, Elizabeth and I were filled with a sense of renewal and optimism. The cabin in the woods had been the perfect escape, allowing us to recharge and refocus on what truly mattered. Now, we were ready to embrace the future with open arms. My woodworking business continued to flourish. The notoriety from the court case, while initially stressful, had brought in a wave of new clients who admired my resilience and integrity. I expanded my operations, hiring a small team and opening a dedicated workshop. The business was no longer just a means of survival. It had become a passion project that fueled my creativity and drive. Elizabeth's career as a landscape architect also soared. She took on several high-profile projects, her designs winning accolades and transforming barren spaces into lush, beautiful gardens. Her work was a testament to her talent and dedication, and I couldn't have been prouder. Lily, our bright and lively daughter, thrived as well. She started kindergarten, and we watched with joy as she made new friends and embraced her love of learning. Every day with her was a reminder of the simple pleasures in life and the importance of family. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Elizabeth and I sat on the porch, enjoying a quiet moment together. The sky was a tapestry of stars, and the cool night air carried the scent of blooming flowers from Elizabeth's garden. "Do you ever think about the future?" Elizabeth asked, her voice soft and contemplative. "All the time," I replied, taking her hand in mine, "especially now that we have come through so much. I think about what we can achieve together, the places we'll go, the memories we'll make." She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. "I love that. I want us to dream big, Patrick, to live a life full of adventure and love." "I couldn't agree more," I said, kissing her forehead. "What do you dream of, Elizabeth?" "I dream of traveling the world with you and Lily," she said. "Of showing her the wonders of different cultures and landscapes. I dream of continuing to create beautiful spaces that people can enjoy. And I dream of growing old with you, surrounded by the life we've built together." Her words filled me with warmth and inspiration. "Let's make those dreams a reality. Let us plan our next adventure." That night, we started making plans. We mapped out trips we wanted to take, from exploring the historic streets of Rome to hiking through the lush rainforests of Costa Rica. We talked about expanding our family, dreaming of giving Lily a sibling to share her adventures with. Our first big trip was to Europe. We spent 3 weeks traveling through Italy, France, and Spain. It was an incredible journey, filled with breathtaking sights, delicious food, and unforgettable experiences. Watching Lily's eyes light up as she saw the Eiffel Tower for the first time or tasted gelato in Florence was a joy beyond words. Back home, we continued to nurture our dreams. Elizabeth's projects became even more ambitious, and I took on larger commissions, including designing custom pieces for luxury hotels and private residences. Our home was a sanctuary of creativity and love, a place where we could always find peace and happiness. One sunny afternoon, as we were working in the garden, Elizabeth turned to me with a twinkle in her eye. "Patrick, I have some news." "What is it?" I asked, intrigued by her excitement. "We're going to have another baby," she said, her smile radiant. Joy and surprise flooded through me. "Really? That's incredible." We hugged, laughter and tears mingling as we celebrated the news. Lily was ecstatic when we told her, already dreaming of all the things she would teach her new sibling. As the months passed, we prepared for the arrival of our second child. The nursery was filled with handmade furniture and decorations, each piece a labor of love. Our family and friends surrounded us with support and joy, making this time even more special. When our son Ethan was born, our hearts were fuller than ever. Holding him in my arms, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this moment. The hardships and challenges we had faced had made us stronger and more appreciative of the blessings in our lives. With Ethan's arrival, our family felt complete. We continued to dream big and embrace every moment, knowing that together we could overcome anything. Our love for each other was the foundation upon which we built our future, a future filled with endless possibilities and boundless joy. As Ethan grew, our lives became even more vibrant and full. Lily took to her role as a big sister with enthusiasm, always eager to help with her little brother. Watching our children interact, their laughter filling our home, was a constant source of joy and pride for Elizabeth and me. My woodworking business continued to thrive, and I decided to expand even further. With Elizabeth's encouragement, I opened a second workshop in a neighboring town. This new venture allowed me to reach a broader market and provided opportunities for mentorship and community engagement. I began offering woodworking classes, sharing my skills and passion with others, and fostering a sense of creativity and craftsmanship in the community. Elizabeth's career also reached new heights. She was invited to speak at international conferences, sharing her innovative designs and sustainable practices. Her projects continued to receive acclaim, and she became a sought-after expert in her field. We often traveled together for her speaking engagements, turning them into family trips where we explored new places and created lasting memories. One evening, after returning from a particularly successful conference in Japan, Elizabeth and I sat down to discuss the future of our careers and how we could balance our professional ambitions with our family life. We wanted to ensure that our children grew up with strong values and a sense of adventure. "Patrick," Elizabeth began, "I've been thinking about our legacy. What kind of world do we want to leave for Lily and Ethan?" I pondered her question, realizing its depth. "I want to leave them a world where they can pursue their passions, where creativity and hard work are valued. I want them to understand the importance of integrity and resilience, just like we've learned." Elizabeth nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "I agree, and I think we can do even more to contribute to that vision. What if we started a foundation, something that supports young artists and designers, provides scholarships, and promotes sustainable practices in our industries?" Her idea was inspiring. "That sounds incredible, Elizabeth. A way to give back and ensure that our values continue to shape the future." We spent the next few months planning and establishing the Reynolds Foundation. It was a labor of love, combining our passions and skills to create something that would have a lasting impact. The foundation offered grants and scholarships to young creatives, supported community projects, and promoted environmental sustainability in the arts and design fields. Launching the foundation brought a new sense of purpose and fulfillment to our lives. We saw firsthand the difference we were making, from the joy on a student's face upon receiving a scholarship to the transformation of a community space through a collaborative project. Our children also became involved, learning the importance of giving back and the power of collective effort. As the foundation grew, so did our family adventures. We traveled to different countries, often combining our work with exploration and cultural exchange. We visited art galleries, historical landmarks, and natural wonders, broadening our horizons and deepening our appreciation for the world's diversity. One memorable trip was to Kenya, where we participated in a community project supported by our foundation. We worked alongside local artisans to build a community center, sharing skills and stories. The experience was transformative, not just for the community, but for our family as well. Lily and Ethan learned about different cultures and the importance of collaboration and empathy. Back home, our lives were a blend of routine and adventure, creativity and love. We cherished the simple moments like family dinners and bedtime stories as much as the grand adventures. Our home was a place of warmth and laughter, a testament to the journey we had taken and the dreams we continued to pursue. As the years passed, we watched our children grow, proud of the people they were becoming. Lily developed a love for art, her talent evident in the beautiful paintings that adorned our home. Ethan showed an early interest in science, always curious and eager to learn. We supported their passions, encouraging them to follow their dreams and make a positive impact on the world. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Elizabeth turned to me with a contented smile. "We've built something beautiful, Patrick. Our family, our foundation, our lives, it is all a testament to our love and resilience." I took her hand, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. "Yes, we have, and I couldn't have done it without you." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, knowing that whatever the future held, we would face it together. Our journey had been filled with challenges and triumphs, but through it all, we had remained united, driven by love and a shared vision for a better world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky painted itself in hues of orange and pink, we were preparing for a quiet family dinner. Elizabeth was setting the table, Lily was helping her, and Ethan was playing with Max in the yard. Everything felt perfect, a testament to the life we had built together. Just as we were about to sit down, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and Elizabeth shot me a curious glance as I got up to answer it. When I opened the door, my heart skipped a beat. There stood Marlene, looking haggard and worn. Her once confident demeanor was replaced with an air of desperation. For a moment, I was at a loss for words, the past rushing back to me in a flood of emotions. "Patrick," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I need to talk to you." Elizabeth appeared behind me, her expression calm but guarded. "Marlene, what are you doing here?" Marlene glanced at Elizabeth, then back at me. "I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I really need your help. Please, just hear me out." I hesitated, torn between the anger and pain she had caused and the compassion Elizabeth and I had strived to instill in our children. Finally, I stepped aside. "Come in." We led her to the living room where she sat down, looking around at the home we had built, a stark contrast to the life she had led since our divorce. Elizabeth and I sat across from her, waiting for her to speak. "Thank you for seeing me," Marlene began, wringing her hands. "I know I don't deserve your kindness, but I am in trouble. Big trouble." Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. "What kind of trouble?" Marlene took a deep breath, tears welling in her eyes. "I've been involved with some dangerous people. After everything fell apart, I got mixed up with a group that promised to help me get back on my feet, but they were using me for illegal activities. Now they are after me because I tried to leave. I have nowhere else to go." I felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted to turn her away, to let her face the consequences of her actions. But another part of me remembered the woman I had once loved, the good times we had shared before everything went wrong. "What do you want from us, Marlene?" I asked, my voice steady. "Just a place to stay for a little while," she pleaded. "Just until I can figure out what to do next. I want to cause any trouble, I promise." Elizabeth looked at me, her eyes full of understanding and support. "Patrick, it's your decision." I took a deep breath, then nodded. "You can stay in the guest room for a few days, but we need to set some ground rules. No contact with anyone involved in your past activities. and you need to find a way to resolve this situation quickly. Marlene nodded, relief washing over her face. Thank you. I promise I'll do my best to make things right. Over the next few days, Marlene kept to herself, trying to stay out of our way. Elizabeth and I discussed the situation in private, both of us wary but determined to handle it with compassion and caution. We reached out to Detective Anderson, informing her of Marlene's presence and the potential danger she faced. Detective Anderson agreed to keep an eye on the situation, providing us with advice on how to stay safe. If she really wants to turn her life around, we'll do what we can to help, she said, but you need to be vigilant. One evening, as I was working in my workshop, Marlene approached me. Patrick, can I talk to you? I looked up from my work, setting my tools aside. Sure, what is it? She sat down, her expression sincere. I want to apologize for everything I did to you. I was selfish and destructive, and I didn't realize how much I was hurting you until it was too late. I see now what a good life you've built, and I envy the peace and happiness you have. I just want a chance to start over. Her words struck a chord. I could see the genuine regret in her eyes, and despite everything, I felt a pang of sympathy. Marlene, I appreciate your apology. It is not easy to admit when we've made mistakes. If you are serious about turning your life around, you have my support. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I am. Thank you, Patrick. As the days passed, Marlene worked with Detective Anderson to provide information about the dangerous people she had been involved with. She was able to help the authorities make several arrests, which alleviated some of the immediate threats she faced. Slowly but surely, she began to rebuild her life, finding a job and a small apartment with the help of a local support group. The experience was a reminder of the power of compassion and the importance of second chances. Elizabeth and I discussed the impact it had on us and our family, grateful for the opportunity to show our children the value of forgiveness and resilience. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Elizabeth turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Do you ever think about how far we've come, Patrick? From the pain and betrayal to this beautiful life we've built? I smiled, taking her hand. All the time, and I wouldn't change a thing. Every challenge has made us stronger and brought us closer. She nodded, leaning her head on my shoulder. I'm proud of us, and I'm excited for what the future holds. With Marlene's departure, our lives returned to normal, but the lessons we had learned stayed with us. We continued to focus on our family, our careers, and our foundation, always striving to make a positive impact in the world. As the years passed, Lily and Ethan grew into remarkable young adults, each following their passions and making us proud. Our foundation expanded, touching even more lives and fostering creativity and sustainability in communities around the globe. Elizabeth and I traveled, explored, and cherished every moment together. We knew that life was unpredictable and that challenges could arise at any time, but we also knew that together we could face anything. Years passed, and our family continued to thrive. Lily and Ethan blossomed into young adults with bright futures ahead of them. Lily pursued a career in art, her paintings gaining recognition and acclaim. Ethan, driven by his curiosity and love for science, was accepted into a prestigious university to study environmental engineering. Elizabeth and I watched with pride as our children carved their own paths. Our foundation had grown significantly, supporting numerous artists and designers and promoting sustainability initiatives worldwide. Our lives were full of purpose and fulfillment, but we knew there was always room for new adventures and challenges. One crisp autumn day, as we were enjoying a family picnic in our favorite park, Lily and Ethan shared exciting news with us. Mom, Dad, Lily began, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I've been offered an artist residency in Paris. It's a dream opportunity to work with some incredible mentors and expand my portfolio. Elizabeth's face lit up with joy. That's amazing, Lily. We are so proud of you. And I have some news too, Ethan added, a grin spreading across his face. I've been selected to join a research project in the Amazon rainforest. It's a chance to study ecosystems and work on conservation efforts. My heart swelled with pride. Both of you are doing incredible things. This is what we've always hoped for, to see you both follow your passions and make a difference in the world. We celebrated their achievements, knowing that these new opportunities would take them far from home, but bring them closer to their dreams. As they prepared for their respective journeys, Elizabeth and I reflected on the incredible journey we had shared as a family. One evening, as we sat on the porch with a glass of wine, Elizabeth turned to me with a thoughtful expression. With Lily and Ethan starting new chapters in their lives, I have been thinking about what's next for us. I nodded, understanding the sentiment. I've been thinking about that too. We've dedicated so much of our lives to our family and our foundation. Maybe it's time for us to embark on a new adventure. Elizabeth smiled, her eyes twinkling with excitement. How about we travel more? We've always talked about exploring the world together. Now seems like the perfect time. Absolutely, I agreed. Let's make a list of all the places we want to visit and start planning. We spent the next few weeks mapping out our dream destinations, everything from the serene beaches of Bali to the historic streets of Prague. We were filled with a renewed sense of excitement and curiosity, ready to experience the world together. Our first trip was to New Zealand, a place we had both longed to visit. We hiked through stunning landscapes, explored vibrant cities, and immersed ourselves in the rich culture and history of the country. Each day was an adventure, and we cherished every moment. As we stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean, the wind whipping through our hair, Elizabeth took my hand. This is just the beginning, Patrick. There is so much more to see and do, and I am so grateful we get to do it together. I squeezed her hand, feeling a deep sense of contentment. I am too. We've been through so much, and now we get to enjoy this new chapter together. Our travels took us to many incredible places. We explored ancient ruins in Greece, savored the cuisine of Italy, marveled at the wildlife in Africa, and sailed through the fjords of Norway. Each journey brought us closer, deepening our bond and enriching our lives. Back home, we continued to support the foundation, ensuring it remained a force for good in the world. We also found joy in mentoring the next generation, sharing our experiences and knowledge with young artists and environmentalists. One day, while visiting an art exhibition featuring Lily's work, we received unexpected news. A young woman approached us, her eyes filled with admiration and gratitude. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, I wanted to thank you both, she said. The scholarship I received from your foundation changed my life. I'm now a full-time artist, and I wouldn't be here without your support. Tears welled in Elizabeth's eyes as she hugged the young woman. We are so proud of you. This is exactly why we started the foundation, to help talented individuals like you achieve their dreams. The encounter reaffirmed our commitment to the foundation and the impact it had on so many lives. It was a reminder that our legacy would continue to make a difference long after we were gone. As the years rolled on, our family grew even closer. Lily returned from Paris, her residency a resounding success, and set up her own studio. Ethan completed his research in the Amazon and took a position with an environmental organization, working on global conservation projects. We continued our travels, our hearts and minds open to the wonders of the world. Every new place we visited added to the rich tapestry of our lives, and we cherished the memories we created together. One evening, as we sat on the porch of our home, now filled with mementos from our travels, Elizabeth looked at me with a contented smile. We've lived such a full and beautiful life, Patrick. I'm so grateful for every moment. I kissed her hand, my heart full of love and gratitude. Me too, Elizabeth. We've built something truly special, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. As we watched the sun set, casting a golden glow over our garden, we knew that our journey was far from over. There were still more adventures to be had, more dreams to pursue, and more love to share. Our story was one of resilience, love, and endless possibilities. And as we embraced each new chapter, we did so with open hearts and a deep appreciation for the life we had